Some of us may be more naturally talented than others in certain areas. We're all capable of accomplishing big things. Whether it's learning a new skill, changing the world, God gives us all the ability to solve problems and make things happen. But to accomplish anything, we usually need a plan. Whether it's a spiritual goal, a mental goal, a physical goal, or a relational goal, without a plan, they're all just wishful thinking. If you remember from last week, the first thing Nehemiah did was spend time in prayer. It says in Nehemiah chapter 1, verses 4 and 11, "When I heard these things, I sat down and wept. For some days I mourned and fasted and prayed before the God of the heaven." Then in verse 11 it says, "Lord, let your ear be attentive to the prayer of this, your servant, and to the prayer of your servants who delight in revering your name. Give your servant success today by granting him favor in the presence of this man. I was cupbearer to the king." There are three things I notice in these verses. First, Nehemiah didn't ask God for a step-by-step instruction manual. He knew that God wanted him to lead the charge to rebuild the walls of Jerusalem, and that was enough. He didn't say, "I'll just sit here and wait for you to tell me what to do next." He started planning. Second, by the time he reached the end of his prayer, Nehemiah was already working on his plan. He asked God to help him be successful in what he was about to attempt. And then last, he said, "I was cupbearer to the king." This is helpful information for us to know, but I think it has another purpose. It shows us that Nehemiah was making note of the resources God had already given him. As cupbearer to the king, he had access and influence with the most powerful person in the kingdom. To sum it all up, you could say that Nehemiah planned while he prayed. Another thing we learn about Nehemiah is he hadn't just been praying and casually planning, he had been preparing in great detail. Let me show you. The king asked Nehemiah why he looked sad, and he had an answer prepared. The king asked what Nehemiah wanted, and he had a request prepared. The king wanted to know how long Nehemiah's journey would take, and he had a timeline prepared. And since the king seemed pretty open to his ideas, Nehemiah also had a list of requests prepared. Throughout this process, Nehemiah continued to talk to God in prayer, but he didn't just wait for God to do all the work. He used the strategic mind that God gave him to plan and prepare while waiting for the right opportunity. Because Nehemiah had prepared in detail for the opportunity he hoped he would get to speak with the king, when God arranged the perfect moment, Nehemiah was fully prepared to take advantage of it. To sum it up, Nehemiah prepared while he planned. Nehemiah already had a plan in place, but now it was time to recruit others to help him make it happen. But first, he needed to figure out how to deal with the people who definitely didn't want to help. Nehemiah gained a couple of enemies during this process, but you know what? When you're working on a God-sized goal, that usually happens. But once again, Nehemiah was ready. He wasn't naive. He expected people to oppose him. He knew to hold his tongue and keep his plans a secret from the people who opposed him. He was wise about who he trusted. He figured out a way to bypass the people who could oppose him so he could recruit people who shared his vision for this God-sized goal. He surrounded himself with the right people. To sum it up again, Nehemiah planned for opposition. God gave Nehemiah a huge task: rebuild the walls of Jerusalem. But God also gave Nehemiah everything he needed to make it happen. Nehemiah had access to God through prayer. He had his God-given talents, abilities, and passions. He had the resources, opportunities, and connections God had given him. And he had other people. Although Nehemiah's God-sized goal probably scared and overwhelmed him, I know it would scare me, but Nehemiah didn't give up or wait around for someone else to handle it. Nehemiah made a plan. Although Nehemiah's goal was extraordinary, He understood that the tools he would need to accomplish that goal were ordinary and were already available to him. Nehemiah took the vision God had given him, the skills God had given him, and the resources God had given him, and he got to work. Nehemiah trusted that accomplishing this God-sized goal was exactly what he was made to do. Just like Nehemiah, you are designed for God-sized goals. Think about one goal you've achieved. You got it? Good. I don't know how you achieved your goal, but here's what I do know. You were able to achieve it because God designed you to do big things. You have a brain that can strategize, people that can help you, and skills and resources that you can use to see your goals accomplished. God designed Nehemiah and you with everything you need to accomplish the goals that God puts in your heart. You have you. We all have days when we feel insecure about who we are and what we can do. Believe me, we do. But God designed you with care, intention, and purpose. When God gives you a God-sized goal, ask, what do I bring to the table? How can I contribute? And think, you have a mind that can think, plan, and strategize. You've got a unique blend of skills, experience, and knowledge. You've got God-given interests and passions. Besides that, you have others. Just like Nehemiah discovered, most God-sized goals can't be achieved alone. There's a lot we can accomplish on our own, but if we want to make lasting change, we're going to need other people. When God gives you a God-sized goal, ask, who can I work with? Next, you have things. Nehemiah needed stuff. He needed transportation, wood, letters, and the king's blessing. And guess what? You're probably going to need some things to help you accomplish your goals as well. When God gives you a God-sized goal, ask, what do I need? Where can I get it? Everyone's God-sized goal will be different, and every goal is going to need different things. And lastly, and most importantly, you have God. Whether your goal is an everyday you-sized goal or a once-in-a-lifetime God-sized goal, God is with you. Just like God was with Nehemiah. Like Nehemiah, God probably isn't going to give you a step-by-step plan for achieving your goal, but that's okay. You don't need one. Because everything you already need, just like Nehemiah, you already have. You are designed for God-sized goals. Hey, you've got the bricks. Now what can you build?